Three things that mentally strong men never do. And by the way, I was the guy that was never mentally strong. I was the guy that was extremely unconfident in my teenage years and in my 20s. I was not good with women. I was not a leader. There was no way in hell I was gonna run my own business. I was the guy that was smoking weed, delivering pizza, fucking off as I commuted to college. And I missed so many different opportunities in my high school and in my college and even post-college because I didn't have the right mindset, right? And I've made a massive transformation over the last 10 years. I wanna share with you guys some of the mistakes I made with my mindset, my self-talk, and how I've made that transformation. So the very first one, if I were to look back at the old me, especially in my 20s, whenever there was an opportunity for something that was gonna happen, whether it was going up and talking to that girl, or if I was about to go on a date, or if there was a big opportunity that was coming up this weekend, like for me, maybe there was like a big party and there was a girl that I liked that was gonna be out there, or whatever it was. Like even when I started my first YouTube channel in 2013 that ended up failing, in each one of these scenarios, there was always opportunities, and I would always just think about the negative situation. Like if I go up and talk to her and then this bad thing happens, everybody's gonna laugh at me. Everybody's gonna know. There was a couple women that I had really good opportunities with, and I never even took the chance solely because of the fact that I was worried that everybody else I knew that woman. So if things didn't work out, or if I embarrassed myself, or if I didn't perform well sexually even, that everybody else inside of my social circle would find out. And for those reasons, those potential fears and concerns, it stopped me from ever even taking the opportunity, right? I had such negative mindsets. I had a negative outlook on life. I stopped thinking about all the potentials that could lead to growth. And instead I would just hyperfixate on the negative outcomes, which most of the time it wasn't even true. Like if I were to think back, if I would have went for those opportunities, like worst case scenario, in 6 months or 12 months, like the things that you're so concerned about happening, even if they would have happened, you still would have grown your character from taking that chance. And the negative repercussions about people finding out or making fun of you or laughing at you for the thing, that blows over in a matter of 1, 2, 3, 6 months. And all you're really left with is the growth. Like if I look at all of the rejections or bad experiences, like negative reactions that I've gotten from approaching women or putting out a piece of content or people talking shit to me online, all of those negative things, they blew over within a day or a week or a month, or worst case scenario, it's like 6 months. But what I can tell you is all of the growth and the character development I've had from taking those chances and seeing those opportunities. So if you're somebody where you have really negative outlooks on life and you see that that's stopping you from taking those chances, you got to start to switch your mindset around and start seeking and start reframing your brain to see that these are actually opportunities for growth. Now, the next point that I want to talk about that's going to separate you from most men actually just happened recently on a client call. I was talking to him and he asked me a question. He said, because he was out with his buddies on Saturday night watching the UFC fight, and he ended up staying out later than he wanted because he wanted to stay out with his friends and watch the UFC fight, and he ended up sleeping in later because of that the next day, and he didn't get really good sleep, and he ended up kind of messing up his productive Sunday, what would have been a really productive Sunday. And so as we were breaking down the week, he asked me, he was like, Kyle, do you always go out and do those things and like no matter what, you just hit the wake up time the next day? Or like what's your suggestion that I do here? And I looked at him, I said, no, of course not. Of course not. And he goes like, well, so what do you mean? Like you just sleep? And I say, no, I don't I don't always hit the wake up time, but I don't always just stay out and then sleep in either. I was like, there's a third option here that you don't realize, which is you just tell your friends no. You just tell the people in your life no. All right? If you're gonna really excel in your business or your career or blow up your brand or really go really far with something, that's going to take sacrifice. And one of the biggest things that slowed me down in my 20s was me always wanting to please other people, me not wanting to disappoint other people, me giving into doing activities that I thought I wanted to do those things until you're in the moment doing those things, and then the next day goes by and then you realize I didn't even accomplish the thing that I really wanted that's greater than this thing, because I was afraid to say no to the person. So I told the guy, I said, no, you know what you do? Ironic, no pun intended. I told him no, but I told him, you know what you do? You just tell your friend, I'm gonna catch the fight tomorrow, or hey, I actually gotta go home because I gotta be up at this time. And the problem is that like we're afraid to tell people that we gotta go to bed early. You're like embarrassed to tell people that you wanna go to bed earlier, or that you're not gonna drink, or that you're not gonna smoke, or that you're going out to approach women, or that you're gonna pull out your phone and film that piece of content. We're afraid to tell people these things due to potential judgment. And one of the most important things, if you're actually gonna accomplish your goals, it's practicing consistently being able to just tell people unapologetically, no, I'm going to do this thing. And you don't need to say it in a confrontational way. You don't need to say it in a way that you're better than those people either. You may even genuinely want to do those things. It's not like we're like the snotty person who thinks we're better than everybody. Like if I was in that guy's position and they said, hey dude, you want to watch the fight? I would say, look, I'm down to hang out till like 11 o'clock. I got to be up at 6 a.m. though. So I'm down to kick it for a little bit, but at 11 o'clock, like I got to make sure I'm heading home to bed. Right? And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, what? You fucking pussy? You're not going to come out? You're not going to do this thing? You're not going to take the shot? You're not going to drink? You're not going to hit the vape? You're not going to take one hit? You need to be able to just sit in that pressure, stay calm, look them dead in the eyes, and just say, no, I'm okay. Not tonight, brother. And that's all it is, man. That is all it is. But that is everything, because most people that don't accomplish their goals, a lot of it is because they're preoccupied with their social circle, their friends, the negative influences, the vices that we turn to. It's all of those things. All right, so that's why number 2 is going to be the power of saying no, and being able to do that very, very frequently, right? And so, but before I move on, there's one more point to this, which is occasionally it is worth it to stay out. Occasionally it is worth it. If you're on that date with the girl that you really like, if it's I don't know, like New Year's Eve, or your boy's birthday, or it's like bachelor party, or like whatever the thing is, like if it's worth it to stay out, you got to pick your battles. Like there are times where it actually is worth it to stay out. There are times where I do stay out, but I very, very rarely am staying out or staying up late for an activity that is not that rewarding, or for an activity that's going to have like no positive benefit in my life, and it's just gonna fuck up the next day. So you gotta be aware of when the times are there, when it's worth it to stay out, and when it's not. All right, let's move into number 3, which is gonna be, it brings me back to a time where I struggled a lot with weed. All right, and this whole point isn't about weed, but it ties into that. It's a mindset thing, because there was a period in my journey where I told myself I was gonna stop smoking weed. And I would make a vow that I woke up in the morning, I was like, today's the day I'm not smoking weed. And then I would go through the day and I would slowly sober up. And then by the time nighttime came, I would start finding ways to talk myself out of why today was going to be the day that I give it up. And then literally day after day after day after day after day, I gave in to the temptation. I gave into that weak bitch voice in my brain. And what started to happen is that after I did that for so long, it didn't even become a thing. It just became routine. It became a routine thing that I was gonna try to, it was an ongoing struggle that I had with myself of telling myself I was gonna do this thing, and then the whole day would go by and I would give into the thing. And guess what? That bled out into my diet, that bled into my wake up time, that bled into me taking uncomfortable actions towards my goals. That led to a failed YouTube channel when I was in my early 20s. That led to a failed career path of me wanting to be a rapper. That led to failed everything. I had no success with women back then. I had no discipline. I had no control over my diet. I had no control over my self-talk, was really what it was. It was because I consistently gave into the weak voice. That just became the norm. And so you live your life deep down feeling like shit, because your subconscious knows that you're a bitch. And that's really what it is. Your subconscious knows that I am a guy that when I say I'm going to do something, I continuously have proven to myself that I'm not going to do the thing, and I'm unreliable. I'm unreliable that when I give my word to something, I'm not necessarily going to do it, and a lot of the times I don't do it. All right, that was me. Now, I no longer struggle with any of those things. I'm almost a year fully sober off of nicotine, weed, alcohol, and I've given them up for years at a time in the past too. And I say this because this is not just with drugs and alcohol though, it's with everything. I built this skill set up initially with cold approach by taking the steps needed daily and pushing myself to make uncomfortable approaches and interactions with women. That started to build up my own internal self-talk to show myself I can do this thing. I don't need to pussy out. Like if there's an uncomfortable situation, I can go through it and maybe I don't get the reaction that I wanted, but I told myself I was gonna do something and I ended up doing that thing. And because of that, I build up the relationship that I have with myself. And that is everything, by the way, because that is universal. If you can do the really uncomfortable action over and over and over, you start to build up this relationship internally that I'm the dude that when I tell myself I'm gonna do this thing, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is, I'm gonna do it, right? And just to, I guess, elaborate on this a little bit, guys, my entire day is not stacked with extremely uncomfortable things all day, every single day. All right, it's just not. That's just full transparency. I do a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to do. I hit an early wake up time. There's a lot of times I've been tempted with a lot of different vices, but I do have time in my day that's actually relaxing, and I do deliberately schedule out times throughout my week where I have some more enjoyable activities. All right. But what I don't do is tell myself I'm going to do something and then I pussy the fuck out of that. So I guess the moral of point number 3 is you want to always be intentional with your word. And that doesn't mean that you always need to be doing extremely uncomfortable actions. But what it does mean is that when you tell yourself you're going to do things, you fucking do that thing. And then also, more importantly, you congratulate yourself afterwards internally. You congratulate yourself afterwards internally for doing the thing that you told yourself you were going to do. And that you going back internally and circling back and being like, fuck yeah, I said I was gonna do this shit and I did that shit, man, let's go. Right, like that. I'm trying not to hit the mic aggressively. But you should, like if you didn't have a microphone on, you should hit yourself damn near aggressively and get hyped, get excited, get motivated at the fact that you're a man of your word, because that is so important. But more importantly, it's universal. It bleeds out into every other uncomfortable action you're gonna do in your day-to-day. I'm in New Jersey right now, if you could tell by the new setup. I'm home for the month. I'm actually celebrating Ramadan with Doha. And for this whole month, I'm still doing the cold showers, but the cold showers hit brutally cold in New Jersey in the beginning of March. And it's damn near an Arctic plunge. Like it's literally a cold plunge. And I told myself every day I'm doing it without hesitation, without reacting, without flinching, zero. And honestly, guys, there's a lot of times I don't really want to do it, although it is getting easier. I guess Miami cold shower just doesn't hit the same. But it's more about the internal self-talk, and I'm not gonna talk myself out of the thing, whether it comes to approaching, or if I told myself I'm gonna fucking film today, or if I told myself I'm gonna do the cold shower every single day, or if I told myself I'm only eating 2,200 calories today. And that's the bottom line, regardless of how I'm feeling later. I'm not talking myself out of the thing. So if you really want to become mentally strong, right, you got to learn to say no to people over and over and over again. Even if it means letting people down on whatever the thing is, like whatever your activities are, you need to prioritize that, and you need to get used to saying no. All right. On top of that, it's the self-talk on a daily basis. If you tell yourself you're going to do some shit, you got to go do that thing, and you better congratulate yourself for doing that thing on top of that. As you start to do those things more and more and more, that ties into the very first point, which is ultimately you just won't have a negative outlook on future opportunities when they actually present themselves. Because you've shown yourself that, hey, I'm going to go through this thing, even if it's uncomfortable, even if there's a negative reaction, it's going to lead to growth. And so having that growth mindset and reframing potential situations that are going to happen to start seeing the positive benefits of the outcomes, that's everything, man. You start doing all 3 of these things, you're gonna have an unbreakable mindset. All right, if you wanna fast track your own results when it comes to social skills, discipline, women, dating, confidence, whatever field, click the links down below, check out the brand new coaching programs I got going on for 2025. That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Be aware of your self-talk, be aware of the temptations, be aware of the people you're saying yes or no to on a daily basis, because that's everything. Peace out.